So hello everyone, it's been a while, so today I figured I'll show you guys how you can record your screen using ffmpeg. So let's imagine the following situation. You wanna record your screen but don't wanna use fairly extensive and pretty much unneeded recording software, and all you wanna do is just record your screen and be happy about it. Well, one really cool thing you can achieve, that thing is we should be able to just use something called ffmpeg. Now, ffmpeg by itself is not really that interesting. It basically works as a converter, so you can convert different forms of input into any form of output, basically, if it has something to be encoded. Now, this is a fairly rough explanation. Again, you can read up on it in the man pages if you want to. It's actually far more complex than this, but I recommend that you read up on it. So, the first thing, so basically most Linux distributions use a X window system, which is basically the thing that draws the screen. So the things you see, like both of my terminals here, the windows over here, the buttons, everything you see is being generated using the X windowing system. So, and that goes for pretty much the majority of the Linux distributions, just to be fair. And one thing to realize is that you can do this for Valent, but since I don't have a system that uses Valent, which is another X windowing system, I'm using Xorg because it's one of the most known ones and it's the most used one essentially. So if you're using a distribution of Linux, you'll most likely be using X Windows as your Xorg as your X windowing system, just to keep that in mind. So one thing you can do with ffmpeg is record your screen. So first let me explain the tag. So as you can see here up at the top, I have them named. So the e-f tag basically says ffmpeg like, hey, I need you to basically do me a favor and format my following input into a output. Essentially, you give it a file and it has to convert it, kind of like a converter, which is kind of ideal because ffmpeg is actually a video converter. So one thing we can use it for, let me just clear this out, is we can record our screen. So what we can do is we can use we can just call ffmpeg and give it the f tag. Now what the f tag does, the f tag basically tells like, hey, format my input into a set output. Then we give it x11 grab because we want to record our screen. So basically take everything that's on my screen right now from my x11 windowing system and put it into a frame. So it's going to just simply take everything that's happening on our screen right here. So it's basically going to take everything that's inside of here and put it as a form of a output. Also, if you're wondering how I just did the highlighting, I have a VI mode inside of my ZSH RC, so just a note on that. Anyway, so we basically tell it like, hey, take my screen. So we got screen. Now this is just part of the screen actually. It's just taking what it sees right here, but it doesn't know which display to take it from. To do this, we give it the -i tag. The -i tag tells it like, hey, use this as a form of input. So we're going to give it our screen, which is at 0, 0. No, this is most likely at 0.0. because that's basically your default display that you have set. If you want to record on a specific display, just make it default and it should work. Or you could experiment using ffmpeg if you really want to record a different screen altogether. And now you just give it the file name. Let's say screen out.mp4, which is the one I've chosen. So basically what will happen now is it will as it's running right now. It's running, so I'm going to let it run for a while. I'm going to highlight some stuff on the screen, do some things over here, and then we can stop it. Now this is not like a ideal one, but as you can see it exited normally, which is okay. Now what we can do is we can use a player and play what we've just created. And what you will see is we have this MPV window right here, but you can see we have just a part of the screen. We have just this part over here. So this is not okay. What happened? So by default, what you saw right there is we do have a screen recording. But what ffmpeg does, it takes just this small sliver. It has a set resolution to record that, and it's actually really low. So what you want to do instead is, if we call the command again, we want to add a different tag. Now, to make sure that it takes effect, you need to put in the screen line tag, or the screen size tag, which I have right here, the -s tag. Basically tells it like, hey, record using the following resolution. So what I have right here in the second line, as you can see, is it will take the screen resolution. Now, one thing to bear in mind, you have to put the screen size before the input, because if you do it the other way around, it's going to do the same thing it just did right here for us, where it just recorded just this small sliver, which is essentially just like this quarter of my screen. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, so we're going to call the command back again, I'm sorry, and we're going to put it before the input, give it the -s tag, and give it a resolution. I'm going to put the one that I'm recording in right now, so you can see everything better. Yeah, so this is the screen resolution I'm recording, and yeah, so this thing, so it's going to ask us if we want to keep recording in a resolution, or if we just want to overwrite the file which we want. So we just say yes, and right now we are recording the entire screen, which was what we wanted essentially. So yeah, so we're just going to like highlight stuff, do stuff over here. I don't know, move our cursor around a bit, and then we can close it. So now if we play it, oh look, that's our entire screen just now. What the heck? That's our entire screen, and you can see what I'm doing. Somewhat. Okay, there we go. Yeah, and I had to wait for it to initialize, and you can see what I'm doing. I'm essentially highlighting stuff. So it was recording before, well, you would have to wait until it starts spitting out the frames. So it's just a small recording actually. So yeah, so that's that part. So we now do have a screen. Now, one thing, as you saw, it asked us if we wanted to do something about it, if we wanted to overwrite it. One thing you can do is put before the F tag, you can put the -y tag so it doesn't ask you. So if I run this now, you see it starts recording right away. It doesn't wait for us to do things. So it's actually much better for us because we can do things right away, and we do not have to wait before it starts generating the frames. Now, usually the first few frames, as you can see here, are not generated until now. So again, depending on what you have in that, it starts generating right away. And we didn't drop any single one of them, and it's pretty much at native speed, which we want. And it's recording as it should, which is okay for us. And we're going to stop it because I don't need it. And again, we're going to play it out. And one thing you saw is it started. So one thing you could have seen is that my mouse has been active right away, and that it is recording the screen pretty much instantly, which is what you want essentially. One thing to remember is right now, complete silence. We do not have any sound. How do you fix that? Essentially, we now have a fully functioning screen recording. So if you want to just record your screen using ffmpeg this way, you definitely can. It's really simple. Yeah, you can see you can do pretty much everything you want. You can record your screen using just that, which is okay. Now, this is just the screen itself, but what about audio? Now, you can add audio fairly simply. To do that, however, you would have to change a few things in that command itself. So, here's the thing. I don't have a ultimate guide on how to do it for everything, but if you are using Pulse Audio like I am, you will have to use something called alsa. Now, here's one important thing. To make sure that it all works out, make sure that your default audio device is your microphone, which, as you can see, based on the wavelengths and everything, which it is in my case. So this is my default audio right here, which is what I want essentially. I wanted to use this microphone. So you need to make sure that it's made your default. So set it as the default one and you should be okay. If you have a webcam with a microphone in it, to make sure it works properly for you, just disable it like I have right here and set this one as your default and you should be fine. So to add it in, it's actually fairly simple. What you do is you go before the -I for the input and you do a -F, because again, we want to add another, basically another format in it. And what we want to do is we want to add the alsa tag, which is kind of ironic since we're using Pulse Audio. And then we do -E for input and we do default. Actually, it has to go after it. Just realized that. So we want to use this as our input and then we do, because we want to add the sound right after that. So we're going to do -F, alsa -E, default, and we have the screen out. So right now this is a test recording. You should be able to hear my lovely voice using the recording from ffmpeg. As you can see, I'm currently highlighting stuff, kind of explaining how to record using ffmpeg within recording ffmpeg, which is kind of crazy. And now with our file generated, this outputs it automatically. If we are quiet, you will hear my voice. Right now, this is a test recording. You should be able to hear my lovely voice using the recording from ffmpeg. As you can see, I'm currently highlighting stuff, kind of explaining how to record using ffmpeg within recording ffmpeg, which is kind of... Okay, so you can see it cut off at a few bits there. Now, the problem with the audio, as you can definitely hear, is that it has a lot of static. Now, one way you could solve this is by tweaking your Pulse Audio settings again. So again, we can go to System and Audio, go to Volume Control, and simply edit it so that it doesn't have the issues with it. So we can just make this a bit more quiet and therefore making it a bit easier for us to edit later. Let me check if the sound is okay. I guess I'll have to increase it slightly. There we go. Yeah. So how do you go about this? So now, since I've changed it, inside of that, I will make another re-recording of the same thing I just did, because why not? Okay, so this is another test sample. You should be able to hear my voice quite easily now, which I hope you can, because it would kind of be a problem if you couldn't, and this is pretty much it. So now, as you saw, I was a bit quiet in the end, which is pretty much necessary. Okay, so this is another test sample. You should be able to hear my voice quite easily now, which I hope you can, because it would kind of be a problem if you couldn't, and this is pretty much it. So you can see the static is far less annoying The reason why I stayed quiet at the end is that ffmpeg sometimes has problems processing all of that. Now, you could in theory use it for video editing, but I just want to talk about screencasting and screen capture along with your webcam, so you can then use your powerful video editor to put it all together into a really nice video. Now, one really lovely thing that OBS does, it all puts it into one frame and it does all that automatically. So all I have to do is just put in my intro, put the clip in, and we're done. Now the thing is, ffmpeg by itself is really powerful. You just have to know how to use it. So right now, what do we have? Right now we have confirmed formatted recording of our screen at a size of 720p using the display which we have, which is our main display, and also another form of input. We're formatting the input of our microphone using the default settings, and we're pushing it all into our screenout.mp4 file, which is our file that we use for recording our videos, which is okay. So this is basically recording with sound in. As you can see, it's far less annoying, and I would definitely use this far more, which is really suitable for me because it's really simple. Now, how about recording your webcam? So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to now explain to you guys how you can record your webcam. So as you may have noticed, I have a note here on how to record my webcam. Now, here's the thing. Linux stores devices in their own separate files or folders, essentially. And the thing is, in most systems, if you have one form of video input, you'll have just one. Now, in my case, as you can see, I have video 0 and video 1. Most likely, if it's the only webcam in your system, it will be video 0 because computers count from 0 to 1, like from 0 and up. That's what I meant to say. So essentially, I have tested this before, and in order to record your webcam, it's actually really simple. You just do ffmpeg again, and then you do -y for confirming, then do -s for the screen size. Now I'm going to do 640 by 480 because that's what I use in OBS right now. And then we do -y, and then we give it the input, our device. So we give it the video 0, and then we do web out, which is what I would use personally, .mp4, which is what I would use personally if I were to record my webcam. Right now it's not gonna work because obviously I'm recording using OBS right here, but you get the gist of it. If I were using ffmpeg, it's going to let me do it. I don't have a secondary camera to show you that it works, but you get the gist of it. This is how you would record it if I could. If I weren't using it right now, this is how I would record it. Now I do fortunately have a, I don't have it. I would have to make a sample file, but you just have to trust me that it works. Actually, okay, so what you saw now was a clip of me I recorded my face just now using ffmpeg. I'll add the clip in manually because for some reason while I'm recording with OBS it's not going to let me do it, which is kind of a shame. So that's that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to now now that we have our webcam and everything, it's important to show you guys a method I would like to use. Now, in order to do this, I'll have to test it first, and I'll get back to you as soon as I've tested it. Okay, so I'm back after some testing and troubleshooting. I have figured out the final command for recording all the things at the same time. So essentially we're using pipes, and we're using 2 instances of ffmpeg at the same time. And what it's doing is, let me just add the command in here so you guys can even see it. So what, oh gosh darn it. So what the command essentially does is whoops, cannot even take it. So essentially we use the first part of our command, which was used to record our screen with our audio, which worked out, and the second part, which took a second later, so we'd have to wait before it finishes everything up. So we then can edit it in manually, but it's okay. If we just wait a second before we start talking, it's okay. So the thing is that right now, this setup works far better than I expected. The reason why I can tell you this is, as you can see, we have, I'm going to actually open up both files at the same time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my file manager right here, and we're going to see that we in fact have 2 videos right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my video editor to show you that it actually works, and we're going to put in both of these videos in, and I'm going to show you that it does actually in fact work. So let me import the files, which is the screen out and web out. Both of these, let me open them in, and we have the screen out and the web out, and we're going to resize this because I cannot see the timeline, and we're going to put in our screen first, and in order to put it all together, I'm going to overlay it with my face. Now what I'm going to do is going to go to transform, and I'm going to move it slightly to the edge. Move it, resize it slightly, and move it down there. Okay, possibly could have resized it a bit better, so I'm going to do just that. There we go. And we should be, well, using just one. So now we should be able to record hopefully at a pretty decent speed. I'm not sure what it's doing right now. It seems like it's switching between them both at the same time, so I hope it's not going. Okay, so one thing you definitely could have seen is that it took a second longer. So what you have to do is you have to edit it so that it like comes up at the same time. So what you can do essentially is you can figure out at which frame your face is showing, and then set it so that it knows what it's doing. So now you can see that my face just turned on first, and then the recording actually started, so it's a bit longer now. So what you have to do is you have to cut this out using your favorite video editor. Just cut this section out and get rid of it, and just move the entire clip one step back, and now we should be able to have a fully fledged video recorded. Well, using just one. So now we should be able to record hopefully at a pretty decent speed. I'm not sure what it's doing right now. It seems like it's switching between them both at the same time, so I hope it's not going to. Okay, so it seems kind of right, but you get the idea. You can then put both of these at the same time, and I'm not sure if I'm going to keep recording my face using this method. I may just stick with OBS because it's simpler, but you get the idea. You can record both your webcam and your screen, and then just put them together in a video like this, and it will pretty much be indistinguishable. So kind of making the video I'm making right now, but just manually keying it in so it makes sense with what you're talking about, which I wouldn't recommend, but you know, it's a thing you can do. Nobody's gonna stop you. So yeah, as you can see, it worked out way better than I expected. All it requires is just a bit of manual editing and making sure that it makes sense with what you're talking. But that's like a small thing that you can work on later. For now, I just may stick to OBS, but this is an alternative way that I may use on a system without a webcam to show you what I'm doing, which is a method. Also, one more thing, all the commands that I've used in today's video will be available in that, even this long one right here. I'm going to add it in manually because it doesn't wanna, for some reason, take it as a form of input. Now, since this is a, I could have like entered visual mode, yanked the output out, and just pasted it in, but it's not working properly, as you can see, and I would have to fix it. But you know, that's just the small things that I face if I'm editing using something else or recording using something else than anyone else. So yeah, I'm going to add the command in. Actually, let me do it like that, and record both screen and webcam, and I'm going to add the command in later. Now, if you enjoyed the video, please share it around. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and I'm going to see you guys later, hopefully with another very interesting Linux video, either with a webcam or without, depending on how I feel like it. Again, if I'm traveling, I will most likely use just my screen using ffmpeg, which is a really powerful tool, or record them both and just have to key it in manually and make sure that my lip syncing isn't broken. But that's a topic for another day. I'm not gonna show you how you can put it all together perfectly because I don't know it yet. As soon as I figure it out, I will let you guys know, and you may start your perfect YouTube channel and show everyone your beautiful face with all your knowledge you possibly have contained. And on that note, I'll see you guys next time. Make sure to stay safe and have fun.